Join us in the Bear Den, a real-life, real-love podcast celebrating the joys and challenges of parenting, family dynamics, and unconditional love.
Hey friends, welcome to another episode of the Bear Den podcast. Today, my guest is a We Are The They brother of mine. He's the man with 1,000 Jordans. It is Mr. Jeremy Macy. Thanks for coming on, bro.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Excited.
I'm so excited to have you here. You and I have been friends now for about 18 months, part of We Are The They.
Yeah.
And through We Are The They, you have embraced everything that the We Are The They stands for, which is getting into integrity, being vulnerable, talking about past trauma, getting past it, and creating a better life moving forward.
For sure.
And through that story, some of the things you've shared is obviously your relationships with your parents, your mom and your dad, things that happened in your past and how you've now worked through those and created a safe place for you and your kids as you are a father.
For sure.
So it was really important to me when I started this podcast. You know, I've said this to several of my guests because it's true. I wrote down a list of people that I wanted on the podcast that has a story to share. The kind of my underlining current with all of my guests is what is the story they have that the world needs to hear? And I think you have an incredible story that actually has multiple levels to it.
For sure.
That really is a story that people want to hear. So in the next hour, I want to dig in as deep as much as I can. I want you to just, free ball and share with us. And I'll obviously ask some questions too. So tell me about Jeremy as a kid.
Okay.
Born and raised here in Salt Lake?
No, actually. So I was born in Vegas, lived in Vegas till I was about 8.
Okay.
And then moved to Reno, Nevada for a few years. And I'll share kind of like the story and everything. And then moved from there when I was 11 to Rexburg, Idaho. Gotcha. So I basically call Idaho home. So I was raised there, went to high school there, built great relationships there. I love Idaho.
So what got you to Salt Lake, or are we jumping too far ahead?
No. That's good. So I was looking for a new job and I got offered a job down here. So I took that about 10 years ago. We came down here and have just flourished down here.
Yeah.
Like we've developed great relationships. And now with like We Are The They, now I've got 400 brothers here.
You're not going anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere. Yeah.
True story.
Yeah, 100%.
So go back to, because this is, quite honestly where it all begins, right? You and your childhood.
For sure.
And your childhood has led you through many, many years of different energy, different mindset, depression, all these things. So take us right back to the very beginning, mate. What was it in your childhood that was the first thing, the first trigger? What was it happened?
So the first thing that happened, so I was raised, it's just me and my brother. So my brother, he's 4.5 years older than me. When I was about 2.5, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Okay.
And so she fought it for about 4 years. She passed away when I was about 6.5. At that same time, when my dad was going through that and trying to help her go through, the chemotherapy, and with it spreading to everywhere, she had a double mastectomy, and she fought it tooth and nail and just didn't win. She's actually the same age that I am now when she passed away.
Wow.
So if I lived through, when I lived through this year, I'll have outlived what my mom did. So, which is crazy to think that she was this young.
How does that make you feel?
It's kind of sad. Like, especially like when you think about it, like 36 years old is really like fucking young.
Yeah.
It's really young.
Yeah.
And so to see that, and especially like where my kids are now, I've got a 10-year-old, I've got a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. It's kind of scary to think like leaving them.
Yeah.
Or you even have my wife potentially like pass away and having to raise those kids alone. Like I can't imagine what my dad had to go through. And so my dad was taking antidepressants to try to cope. And he was taking 2 different kind of antidepressants that kind of made him go a little bit crazy. So that's when the child abuse started to happen.
Gotcha.
So to highlight like the level of child abuse, basically there was one night that my brother and I forgot to lock up the doors while we were living in Vegas. And of course, you always want to lock the doors when you live in Vegas. Um, and so my dad kind of went off. He had this rubber rat that was for like our dogs that he whipped us with.
Okay.
And so it left enough marks to where someone at the school recognized him on my brother, and they called Child Protective Services. So this is when I was about 8. So for about a year and a half period, we were severely abused by my dad. And then eventually went into like a child's haven for
Okay.
about like 2 or 3 months. And then my aunt and uncle, basically my mom's sister, she lives up in Reno. They came and adopted us.
Oh, wow.
So that's why we left Vegas and moved to Reno, Nevada, lived with them, but they were alcoholics. So, and then my uncle was a Vietnam vet, had a lot of trauma that he had dealt with. He was always very much like, belt across the butt, stand out of attention, stare at the wall, screaming, yelling, all sorts of stuff. So it was a different kind of abuse. It was very mental.
Yeah.
They were saying that we were nothing without them.
So you went from minor physical abuse at the time, because it was minor. Abuse is abuse. Don't get me wrong.
For sure.
And I know we're going to tread a fine line here, and this is my show, so I'm going to have my opinion. But if your kids misbehave, I know we're not meant to whack them, smack them, give them a wallop, right? We grew up on you get a wallop, right? Jesus, I've had enough of them, and I probably still didn't learn my lesson. But when you're starting to use an implement like a dog toy or something like that, a belt, and you're taking it past the extreme of it being a teaching point and it just becomes a beating, that's when it really becomes abuse, right?
For sure.
So I know we talk about it being mild abuse, but it's, was it the first offense, second offense that kind of got flagged with your dad?
No, honestly, it was.
Or did he go on for quite a while?
Like I said, from the time that I was 6.5 to the time that I was 8, so that year and a half,
it went on for a minute. Then.
It went on for a long time.
Gotcha. So you went from physical abuse though, which obviously painful, hurts. You're asking all these questions of like
not feeling safe. On top of that, like when you're 6.5, you really don't understand that you just lost like one of the most important people in your life.
Yeah.
So it's like, not knowing that. And honestly, I don't have a ton of memories of my mom, even at 6.5. Like I remember like little things. I actually remember like the ambulance coming to pick up my mom for the last time.
Gotcha.
And then I remember when she passed away, because me and my brother were actually in the room. And what was crazy about it is that literally when she passes, she was reaching up to the sky and like extended her hand. And then you heard like the breath of life leave her. So,
do you remember any of your feelings from back then, 6.5 to 8? Any feelings towards your dad at the time? Like, why is this happening? Why are you doing this? You're meant to protect us, love us, care for us, and you're here beating us. Or was it at that point you were just too young to even?
I think I was too young to even process it. Like, I mean, when you think about it, like my 5-year-old really doesn't have a good grasp of things, and I was pretty much right at that stage.
Yeah,
and even my 10-year-old who's almost 11, she still doesn't grasp a lot of things because you're still in that early childhood development, right? For me, I was scared to death of my dad. And so I've always been very like, I was always able to read people. I've always been kind of a salesman. So I've always able to like know when to press and when not to press with my dad. So I didn't get as severely abused as what my brother did. My brother definitely went through a lot more physical abuse because he was older.
Yeah.
And then that year and a half period, it was pretty intense. Like I said, I don't remember a ton of it. I just remember that one instance with the rat.
And then you moved with your aunt and uncle.
And then we moved on, and that I remember everything.
And then that is a different kind of abuse. That's mental. You've gone from physical abuse
100%
to mental abuse. Physical abuse, bruises go away, welts go down, lumps go away. After
I'd much rather be hit than mentally abused.
1,000%. But mental abuse, there ain't no Band-Aid for that. There
Mm-mm.
isn't a Neosporin for that.
No.
That shit hurts.
Yeah, 100%.
And so you've gone from the age of 6, losing your mom, physical abuse, into the age of 8, where you've now been taken on by your aunt and uncle who've adopted you,
Yeah.
and you've gone straight into mental abuse.
Yeah.
For how long?
From 8 to about 10. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, 8 to so about a 2-year period. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, my uncle was very militarian. He was a Vietnam vet. So he taught us proper manners, which I love and still use to this day. I say yes ma'am, no ma'am,
Mhm.
yes sir, no sir. Like I love that aspect that they taught me that. Um they would always, whenever they punished us, we would always have to stare at the wall for hours on end while they're watching TV or they're doing stuff. And then they would always scream and yell at us. And then my brother, like they would starve us. They would literally not feed us. And then they would go to the bar for hours on end, leaving us at home, making us write, I will not steal the cheese, or I will not take this 500, 600 times.
Jeez.
So like we went, and then there was times that they took us to the bar, and that bar had an arcade upstairs for kids. They would give us 5 hours or sorry, not 5 hours. They'd give us $5 for like 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
And you're going to burn through $5 in
30
10 minutes.
seconds. Yeah, done.
Yeah.
Did you have any grasp or concept at the age of 10 as to why this is happening? Could you put together like, it's because he's a vet, it's because he's ex-military, or was it just like, why is Uncle Bob just hitting me all the time and yelling at me? I
It
don't
just
get it.
seemed like that's what their nature was.
Yeah.
So they were alcoholics for
Yeah.
one. So they would also eat food without remembering it, and they would blame it on me and my brother. And so that's why we would have to write, I will not steal a cheese. I will not do this. I will not do that.
Wow.
So that was pretty intense. And then they would scream and yell at us. There was one night. So this is actually what led us to leaving their house when I was about 10 and a half. It was like 2 a.m, and my uncle was just like losing his mind, and he was screaming at the top of his lungs, like, why did you steal this? Why are you doing this? Like just screaming. And luckily our next door neighbor heard it. So they sent Child Protective Services out to our house. They came and interviewed us while we're there. And we're like sitting there, we're like, oh shit, like we got to be buttoned up. We got to not do anything. And then they came and interviewed us at our school. And that's when I was like, I told them everything that they were doing.
Yeah.
And then I remember when they came and got us out of school to remove us from the home. I told my brother, I was like, finally someone had the balls to say something.
Mm-hmm.
And so we left that situation, went into foster care for about a year. We lived with an evangelist family that was amazing. It was super cool. Church on Sunday was like a rock concert. So that was always awesome. And then he was also a disc jockey for like a roller skating ring.
Oh yeah, baby.
So like we would go from church rock concert to the roller skating ring. Dude, I thought I had the best life ever. Because you go from like physical abuse, mental abuse, never having fun, to being able to go do this every Sunday. You're like, fuck yeah, this is the life.
Amen. Was there anything that you and your brother, even at that age, the younger age, 10 or even younger, was there anything that you and your brother put into place to protect yourself? Like, we know that we can't do this because if we do this, we're going to get a beating.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we know if we do this, we're going to, like, what was it that because obviously you and your brother, you're in this shitstorm together, right? So it's like, you've got to have each other's backs.
Yeah. We were tight.
Yeah.
We were really tight, and we still are to this day. We're really, really close because we've had to go through those trials together. But like we would hang out in his room and we would talk about like what we were going through, and we would almost have that camaraderie of like going through the shit together.
Mm-hmm.
And so we listened to rap songs like Gangster's Paradise by Coolio. Like we would listen to music, and that was kind of our coping mechanism, was just like listening to music, being able to relate to each other, being able to go through that crucible together. And it was honestly me and him making those decisions. So after we were in foster care, we reestablished connections with my dad. And my dad had been working really, really hard to get his rights back. So, um, eventually he asked us to go move with an LDS family. So we went and moved in, and then I got baptized because I had left before I was baptized in the LDS church.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so I met with the missionaries. I went through the whole baptism through conversion. And then eventually, after about 6 months or so, I was about 11, we moved up to Rexburg, Idaho.
Okay.
And that the abuse didn't stop there. So
And this was with your dad?
this was my dad again.
Okay.
So my dad
Were
just
you were you comfortable giving him a second chance at this point?
we didn't have a choice. So
Okay.
so this is really what it was. So we had 3 different options. We had a choice to either stay in foster care, which the system is
Shit
broken. It's a shit show. It's very, very difficult. It's very, very hard. It's even hard to find good families like in foster care, because a lot of people in the foster care industry, they do it because it's a paycheck. It's
It's
money.
all about the cheddar, baby.
100%.
Yeah.
So on top of that, we were older. So usually when you're older, you move from family to family to family to family. So there was no continuity there. Our second option, my grandpa, my dad's father, wanted to take us in, but we also knew he was sick.
Gotcha.
So, and he passed away when I was like 12. So it was like,
Would have been a 1 year.
it would have been a 1 or 2 year thing, and then it would have been gone.
Yeah.
So, and then also like my dad is a victim of his upbringing, and my dad was abused mentally by my grandfather.
Gotcha.
So
it's almost like a hereditary lineage.
100%
of abuse, one way or the other.
Oh, dude, yeah. Insane. So I actually remember one time I didn't listen to my grandpa, and he like yanked my hair back and was like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Wow.
Yeah, and I was young, dude. Like that's one of my memories that I have of my grandpa.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we had that option to go live with my grandpa or go live with my dad up in Rexburg, Idaho. So we were like, okay, well, let's give him another chance.
Yeah.
So, and it was really good for a year. It was really good. I got into skateboarding right when I moved up there, made really good friends in Rexburg, Idaho. And then my dad gave me a ton of freedom. Like that was one of the things is that I never had was I didn't have a ton of freedom, and my dad was working a 9 to 5. And so I was able to get on my bike, and Rexburg is a pretty small town. I was able to go to Walmart. I was able to go all over town on a bike. So I love that aspect. The abuse picked back up when I was about 12. So there was times like you understand, you have an 11 and a 13-year-old. Yeah. So like, sometimes your kids just talk back, and it's like it lights you on fire. You're like, why are you freaking talking to me like that?
Yeah.
My 10-year-old does that to me all the time. And my dad would just flip a switch and just lose his shit. So there was one time, this is like 7 a.m. My dad's like yelling at me to do something. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. Like, I don't want to do that. I'm eating cereal, whatever. So he stomps down the hall of our shitty ass apartment and chokes me out into my cereal bowl, where literally I passed out and woke up in my cereal.
Wow.
And that continued till I was about 15, where I was big enough. So I went through it ended for my brother because my brother was big enough to stand up to my dad.
Mhm.
I think he was in 9th grade. And eventually I was big enough where if my dad was going to come and hit me, I was like, if you're going to hit me, I'm going to hit you back.
Yeah.
And that stopped.
Yeah.
Like as soon as I was big enough to be able to stand up for myself and be able to tell him and put him into place, because he knows I would knock him out, that it stopped.
Mhm.
But like there was times like there was one time actually that we were headed to my dad would take me in the morning and a couple of my buddies to junior high. One day I mouthed off. I mean, I know I got a mouth,
Yeah, you're like, oh shit, I just did that.
It's just 100%. And I mouthed off to my dad, and my dad just like grabbed my hair and slammed me against the dashboard of the car while my 2 buddies are sitting in the back seat.
Wow.
And I was like, as we're driving, I was like, Dad, I'm gonna tell people, and I'm gonna leave your ass.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna let people know that I'm leaving. He's like, go ahead, like you won't have a better life. And I thought about that, and I was like, fuck, I can't go tell someone. I can't go.
Why not?
I think I was scared. I was scared because I had seen what it was. I was scared to see like leaving my dad, leaving my brother, leaving all my friends. Like I've established like a good, like those are formidable years and relationships.
Do you think there was a little piece of it too? Like it's your dad. You don't want to get him in trouble.
I think that played a factor. I also felt guilty too, right? My dad had taken care of me. He did a lot of things for me. He was great. Like there were so many different aspects to my dad that were really good.
Yeah.
But like I said, he just had this crazy temper where he just like fly off the handle and lose his shit. Also, you have to think about it. Like imagine raising your girls without Andrea.
Yeah.
Like, and that's fucking hard. Like being a single parent.
Oh, dude, Andrea travels for work. In the last month, she was in Las Vegas for 10 days.
Yeah.
Full weekend, part of the next week. And, we have Andrea and I have such a good team because even from the day we've been together and been married, she's always traveled for work.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always known there is times where she's not going to be at home and I'm going to have to take care of the girls, right?
Yeah.
And it's really funny for me when I hear people turn around and say, "Oh, I've got to babysit the kids." I'm like, "You're not babysitting, dickweed. You're a parent. It's called parenting." Well done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, it's a fucking chore. You're having to look after your own kids while your spouse is out of town. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
They're your kids. Look after them, right? But in the early years, the girl's biological dad, we had him 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
So what Andrea actually did, and this is just testament to Andrea and how amazing she is in business and scheduling life, she would schedule her work trips for the days that we didn't have the kids. So if she had to go to Vegas or had to go to Texas or had to go to Phoenix, she would go on a Tuesday and Wednesday when the girls were at the dad's.
Yeah.
And then she'd always be back by Thursday lunchtime because we would have them Thursday after school through Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
So there was never really a period in our early years where I was alone looking after the kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's only been in the last probably 4 to 5 years where we've had issues with their biological dad, and we've had more. We've looked after or had the kids more. That when she travels, I am alone with the girls.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's fucking parenting. That's what I do. It's what we do, right? As parents.
Yeah.
Is it difficult? Oh, absolutely.
100%.
When there's 2 of you and you can split the school run and you can split dinner duties and you can split the volleyball game and blah, blah, it's easy. But when you're by yourself, it's like, oh shit, well, I got to take one to gymnastics at 5:30, but the other one's got to be at volleyball at 5:45 and that's 25 minutes away. It's like, how do I do this, right? But you just do it and you say, kids, sorry, it's going to be pizza for dinner. There ain't going to be no home cooked dinners this week. Mama's out of town. Like, fucking eat whatever.
You go into survival mode, right?
Yeah, and honestly, you can plan better.
Yeah.
I don't. But I will say the kids do their things. They get their homework done. They go to school every day. They're on time. Nothing's ever missed. Sure, we might eat pizza. Sure, we may go and, eat out, whatever. But it's also, it's my time with the kids. We're going to throw a movie on and eat a pizza. It's daddy and daughter time.
Oh, yeah. Right? And they remember that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
But for people to turn and go, oh my God, I have to look after my kids this week. Ugh.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, then you shouldn't have had kids.
100%.
Wear a condom.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
100%.
And I hear that a lot from people. They're like, oh, so-and-so's out of town for a week. Oh, I've got to look after the kids by myself.
Yeah. I think that's been a mindset shift for me and my wife too, is realizing like we're not looking after our kids. It's not babysitting our kids. It's because we know what life is. Exactly. It's parenting. We know what life is without the kids because we were together for 2 years before we started having kids. And there was when you're going through like newborn stage and you're dealing with like the toddler stage and going through all of that with the kids, it's fucking hard. It's so you're sleep deprived. You're both trying to juggle everything.
I missed all of that. I came in at 3 and 1. I'm like, oh, these guys.
Well, the 1-year-old.
Oh yeah. No, I still changed dirty nappies, and there were still evenings and night times when we were first in our relationship and kind of living together, that it was, there was some disturbed sleep patterns, but I didn't do the newborn thing, right? But it's parenting. Yeah. You made this decision. You made these kids. You have a responsibility to give them your all. Yeah. Right. And like I said, I see it a lot. I hear it a lot. got to look after the kids. So-and-so's out of town. I'm like, okay, well done.
Yeah.
They're your fucking responsibility.
100%.
They're your kids. And, and I've said it in the past. I'm like, oh yeah, I've got to look after the kids this week. And people are like, you mean you just get to parent? Like, yeah.
Exactly.
But now, quite honestly with you, mate, when Andrea goes away, yes, it's sad because Andrea's out of town for a week or 10 days, whatever, and we miss the shit out of each other. But I also look at it as a huge gift.
Yeah.
Because now I get 10 days of one-on-one time with the girls.
And that's a good mindset to have,
It's
right?
amazing.
It's a gift.
Yeah.
And that's something that's switched for us, like I was saying, is now it's a gift. Now it's an opportunity for alone time with the kids. And they will
100%.
remember that for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
So with my dad having to parent 2 boys, one being a smart ass like me.
Yeah.
And then my brother was always really well behaved and did a lot of things. I think it was because of what we had to go through early on, and him being older, he understood like what it was like to lose my mom.
Yeah.
And had the influence of my mom to actually help him quite a bit. So he was able to kind of navigate that whole situation better. Where me, I was just a smart ass. I would talk back, and different things. And because of that, like my dad, like I said, had that quick trigger and would just lose his shit.
Mm-hmm.
So, the abuse didn't stop, like I said, until about 15. I was able to stand up to him. And then I've done a lot of healing of going through that with my dad and having to repair that relationship. So I remember going on my mission. My dad was the only person that would write to me every single Monday.
Wow.
Every single Monday. My brother would hit me once in a while.
Yeah.
But my dad wrote to me every single week. And
was he LDS?
Yeah. Yeah. So my dad's a convert.
Okay.
Yeah. So my dad's a convert.
When you say converted from what to what?
He was converted from Catholic to LDS to a Mormon faith.
Okay. So did he go on a mission?
He did.
So he knows what it's like to go on a mission.
He knows what it's like to go on a mission.
Yeah.
And he actually baptized my mom. That's how they met.
Okay.
Yeah. So they met on his mission out in Pennsylvania. My mom, she was a genius, man. She was so smart. She worked with diabetics. She was a registered nurse, but she was like one of the best. So she was at a specialist clinic down in Vegas, and people would come to her from all over the country because how amazing she was with diabetics.
I love that. What was her name?
Her name was Mary Elizabeth.
Mary Elizabeth. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So we actually named my oldest daughter. Her middle name is Elizabeth.
I was just about to ask.
Yeah.
I was going to ask the same question.
Yeah.
Like, is there a
Yeah. So Harper Elizabeth is my oldest daughter's name.
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
So they LDS, they met, and then you were on your mission, and he was.
And he wrote to me the
Monday?
whole time, and I loved that. I appreciated that so much. And
was there any resentment there? Was there any underlining feelings of, I get that you love it, and I get that you appreciate it, and you've got that constant connectivity, but was there ever a case of, well, yeah, it's my dad, but he's still an asshole, like he beat the shit out of me?
I think I understood what my dad was going through. I think definitely as I got older and as I got married and then as I had kids, I understood more and more and more of what my dad was going through. I was actually going through the shit that my dad was going through, but I had a greater awareness of what not to do because I was a result of abuse. I saw what it was like. And it's just like with anything, right? You realize what your parents were doing and you're like, okay, that's something I absolutely do not want to fucking do with my kids.
Yeah.
And so you learn to be a better parent. So each generation is getting better and better and better.
100%.
My dad was 100 times better than what my grandpa was.
Yeah.
And you can only imagine what my great grandpa was to my grandfather. And I think it's because of the changing of times, a lot more awareness. Like being able to parent kids now is way different than how we were parented.
100%. Absolutely.
So as I got older, I was able to appreciate my dad a whole lot more. And I understood that my dad was making sacrifices for me, even though he was imperfect. And I think that's something that everyone needs to realize is that your parents are not perfect human beings.
Dude, nobody on the planet. It's not just our parents. We are not perfect. Our kids are not perfect. Our parents aren't perfect. Our grandparents are perfect. There is no such thing as perfect.
Yeah.
I actually really hate the word perfect.
Oh, yeah.
I think it puts on such a label of unachievable stature that the word perfect drives me nuts. Nothing is ever perfect. And honestly, the most imperfect things are actually some of the most beautiful things when you look at them, right?
100%.
You look at these things that they look weird and they're not right and they're weird colors. You know, well, it's just the most disgusting thing ever, but it's kind of beautiful.
Uh-huh.
You know, you look at a Jackson Pollock.
Yeah.
The dude just flicked paint all over a canvas. There's nothing symmetrical or beautiful or perfect about that. But when you step back and actually look at it, you go, it's actually a beautiful piece of art.
100%.
And it's imperfect.
Yep.
So I hate when people are like, oh, you know, perfect. I'm like, fuck, perfect. Just be you.
100%. And I think social media plays a part into that.
Oh, 1,000%.
My wife struggles with that aspect too, because there's a lot of mom shame. And you probably have heard this quite a bit on your podcast, is that the mom shaming that happens, like you see like successful people that'll go on there and like, look, I manage my 3 kids, I manage a business, I do this, but those are highlights. You're not seeing what's happening behind closed doors.
Social media it's a blessing and a curse. Social media is phenomenal for keeping people connected across the world in real time. You know, I can send a message to my brothers in the UK or my family in the UK on Instagram or Facebook Messenger, and they receive it instantly, and I get it back. Go back 30, 40 years ago, that was a telegram, that was a letter. Would have took weeks to get here.
100%.
But now I can communicate with them instantly, right? I can see pictures of my family. I can see what they're up to. I can see the events they're at. I can see all the beautiful things. But at the same time, all we're seeing is highlight reels.
Yeah, exactly.
And it drives me nuts. And the problem is, and you're hitting on this, is we have people that look at that and are looking at people's perfect image, which is their highlight reel, and trying to achieve that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, actually, no, take the time and go look at the other 23 and a half hours of their day. It doesn't look like that.
No.
We're all trying to be this perfect thing because people online are perfect, but actually that's just a 10-second picture in a 24-hour day of a shit show.
Mm-hmm.
Show me the shit show.
Yeah.
And I'll show you a real person.
100%.
And I think we all have a tendency when we're putting ourselves online, we want people to see the best of us.
100%.
We don't want to see the warts. We don't want to see the bad hair. We don't want to see the non-makeup
Use the filters
day.
like, oh, my skin looks better like this.
Fuck. I don't think I've ever used a filter in my life, bro. I'm like,
well, it shows.
I wouldn't be. It really does. It's like, oh shit, I've got hair filter. But I will be honest with this. There's been times in my life where I've put things on social media. I'm like, I don't look great in that. Take it off. You know, I look overly fat in that picture. Take it down.
You second guess.
I
got a double chin.
Yeah. Got a double chin. I'm not sucking in enough. But also, there's times I'm like, fuck it, right? Because there could be a 400-pound guy out there looking at me at 260, going, I want to be him.
Yeah, 100%.
In a year to 2 years time, right? Just as much as I look at people that are 230, 240, 250 saying, that's where I want to get to.
Yep.
So you showing yourself imperfectly is actually somebody's perfect. When you really think about it.
I love that.
It's like, and I'm being serious, like you go to the gym, you see the big guy or again, a 400-pound guy walking on a treadmill.
Yeah.
Phenomenal, dude. Keep going.
Yeah.
And because you're aiming to be the 250-pound guy who wants to be the 200-pound guy. Everybody's imperfect because somebody else is perfect.
Yeah.
And so why should we not show our imperfections? I can't think of her name, but she's actually super beautiful. She's a supermodel. She's mixed race, but she's got that skin.
The splotches.
Yeah. So she's got dark skin, but she's got huge white patches all over her body. Mm-hmm. She's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. But you look at her, she's imperfect because she's got two-tone skin, but she's stunningly beautiful.
Yeah.
She's unique. She's one of a handful of people on the earth that have that disease or that condition, and she's stunningly beautiful.
Yeah.
Those are the people, the imperfections that we should be promoting, so other people, kids, can look at that and go, I look like them.
Yeah.
I'm normal.
Yeah.
And so again, with you with kids and me with kids too, social media is a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
I love the fact that my kids can be on social media, connect with extended family members, but it's also a case of don't.
When did you make that decision to allow your kids to have social media? At was there an age, or was there like a time like, hey, is it only on our phones, or?
No, so both of our daughters have phones.
Okay.
We made that decision. Andrew and I made that decision several years ago because they were going backwards and forwards to their dads.
Oh, okay.
A lot.
That makes sense.
And there were some issues with their dad several years ago when they were in his care that we were like, we're glad they had a phone, because if they didn't, how would they get a hold of us? So we made a conscious decision for Lily, our eldest, to get a phone a couple of years ago. The problem is when you've got a younger kid who's 9 years old, they want a phone.
100%.
So then the 9-year-old, when you try and tell the 9-year-old, she has to wait till she's 11. She's like, ugh. You're like, okay, well, you'll get one at 10, right?
Yeah.
So yes, our youngest has got a phone sooner than our eldest did.
Yeah.
It's literally only been in the last, I would say, 6 to 12 months that we've actually less than that. I'd say less than 6 months that we've let our youngest have Instagram. All of her friends are on it. They're posting the stories, blah, 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 blah.
And she's 13, right?
This is the 11-year-old.
Oh, this 11-year-old.
The 13-year-old has it. She barely uses it.
Okay.
Quite honestly, our eldest barely uses her phone.
Yeah.
Like I'll text her and I'm like, hey, honey, how was your day? 4 hours later. Good.
Yeah.
I'm like, great chat. Thanks. Love you.
Yeah.
Whereas my little one, 6 o'clock in the morning, she's like, hey, can we go to Starbucks? Can we pick up this? Can we do this? Da, 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 da. I'm like, honey, haven't even took my morning shit yet. Can you give me 5? Like she's just relentless. Meme after meme after meme after video after video. I'm like, pause. I'm like, I'm going to turn your phone off if you don't stop this shit, right? But that's just who they are. That's the difference in the kids.
Yeah.
I heard a great comment the other day, and I actually shared this on my social media, and I want to share it with you too in case you didn't see it. Gary Vaynerchuk was asked a question at one of his events by a mom. She said, my daughter is 9 years old. How do I protect her from the internet? And he had an amazing comeback. He said, you've got 2 choices. He's like, take them off the internet completely. Don't ever let them have social media. Don't ever let them have access to the internet until they get to a certain age. He's like, however, their friends have it. Their family have it. They're going to be left out. They're going to be rejected because they're not cool in the social media circle. Mm-hmm. The second choice is to build their self-esteem that nothing they find on the internet will ever hurt them. And I was like, ooh,
I love that.
That's a fucking goodie.
Yeah.
Build your child's self-esteem so strong that whatever they see on the internet does not affect them. And I was like, that's the route I'm going. Because here's the thing, dude. We can't stop kids on social media.
100%.
They're using internet at school for their projects and classwork. Mm-hmm. Schools are actually requiring them to do stuff online at home now. Yep. So they're going to be on the internet.
Yeah.
Social media now is the norm. It's not going anywhere, right? It's like us back in the day having Tamagotchis and Pogs. It was the norm for us, right?
Yeah.
Social media is the norm for our kids. So you either got to wrap them in bubble wrap or cotton wool, or put a safety shield around them and never let them enter the world of social media. Probably not the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Or build their self-esteem so strong that nothing they see will hurt them. And that's the route I want to go.
I love that.
Yeah, it was super powerful. It was a really powerful comment. I was like, that's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, because we're kind of navigating that whole situation right now with our oldest. Mm-hmm. She's in competitive dance, and she's got a lot of friends that have cell phones. They've got Instagram, and they're dealing with all sorts of stuff. Our approach has been, you don't need social media right now because, one, you don't understand the concept of what social media can do. Mm-hmm. And I have friends that are teachers, and they talk about the kids that have the most problems in school are the kids that have phones and social media. And so that's kind of shied us away from wanting to give our daughter a phone. She has a Gab watch.
Yep. We had
that she can text, she can phone call, she can do a lot of different things on that, but doesn't have social media on there. Yeah. And I think maybe 12 is kind of like what I think will be appropriate for her to get on social media. But I think social media will only be on our phones to be able to keep track. Because I have a buddy that he has a 14-year-old daughter, and she was getting into trouble because she was sending nudes and different things to different guys on the internet. And there's literally, he was going through her DMs. Guys that are like in their 50s and 60s are messaging him. Just sick.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's just kind of shied us away from wanting to put that out there.
So there's a great app actually, and I don't know all the ins and outs of it because actually Andrea took the lead on this and she actually facilitates it and runs it. It's called Bark, Bark.
Bark.
Yeah, yeah, like as a
Okay.
dog.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, it's a subscription. I don't know how much it is, to be honest with you. I have no clue.
Mhm.
But what it does is the parent downloads the app on the phone
Mhm.
and it actually creates a VPN between you and your kid's phone. So you actually see on your phone, you open the Bark app, you can actually restrict websites, restrict apps, restrict social media. You can do all these restrictions from Bark. You can restrict screen time when the screen's off, screen's on, when they have access to the internet. Da, 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 da. It also reads and monitors all of their text messages. So we've had this with our young. We don't have it on our eldest because honestly, she's so kind of like meh with her phone anyway. It doesn't make a difference, right? Our youngest, always on Instagram Shorts, always on YouTube Shorts, video, TikTok, bullshit, cats playing the piano. It's relentless. But I love it. So Andrea has it on her phone. And we actually, she has this little group thread of, kids at school. The one problem we found, parents listening out there, is she was added on a group thread by kids at school who had an Android. Don't know why anybody has Androids, but
100% the green bubble.
Green bubble. We don't do green bubbles.
No, get an
So anyway,
iPhone.
she'd been added to a group thread by kids who had an Android. You cannot remove yourself from a group thread if you're an iPhone user on an Android thread. You can't do it. We've tried. We've Googled the shit out of this. Like literally without freaking digging up Steve Jobs and be like, how do we get off this thread? Like we've tried everything. So she's on this thread regardless. And the crap that is being spoken back and forth, and we know it because we can see it in Bark, blah, 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 blah. And it started to get not okay. And these were 11-year-olds. There was bad language. There was, provocative, like, So Andrea literally shut this down. She went to the school and she was like, here is a list. Here are screenshots of text messages that are being sent. These are the kids. These are the phone numbers. Fucking address this. And they were like, we're on it. But if we hadn't got that app, and Anna could delete those messages, you wouldn't have would never have seen that. So for anyone listening out there, parents who've got young kids and they're kind of getting into that phone world, look at the app Bark, B-A-R-K. It just allows you to give a little bit of control, but also a little bit of rope for them.
I like that.
And we've had conversations with the kids and like, okay, you don't abuse it. When we tell you it's lights out, night time, no phones.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, okay. I'm like,
do you let them keep the phones in their room?
Yeah, they set their alarms with it. They listen to music. Both of our kids listen to music to fall asleep. So they'll put rain sounds on or they'll put Pandora on and put the timer on, fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
They both have their alarms set to it. But we've also said, when it's lights out, time to go to bed, it's lights out, time to go to bed.
Yeah.
And if you're on your phone, we'll know. And they're like, I'm like, we have an app.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh shit, yeah, he does.
Yeah.
We've never had a problem.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And honestly, in the evenings, our kids go to bed at a certain time. They have wind down time where they go up at a certain time, get into bed, watch TV for half an hour, then it's lights out, whatever. And it's in that kind of hour window that our kids will actually call their biological dad or, whatever. So that's kind of their time.
Oh, okay.
But quite honestly, both of our daughters have been very responsible with their phones.
That's awesome.
It's nice for me too or for Andrea and I too, that when we're out of town, we can actually text them directly and tell them we love them. We can send them a video. We can send them a picture. They can respond back. Like I got text messages this morning at like 6:30.
Mm-hmm.
Miss you, Dad. Have a great day. Love you, smooches. And then Anna's just like me. I'm like, oh, she's eating breakfast.
Yeah.
Because I see it every morning. She's like eating cereal with one, and she's like ping, ping, ping. Like,
yeah.
I'm stood right next to you, honey. Just show me the damn video. I don't need this. I don't need 30 messages.
Yeah. I love this, like especially this conversation, because you're able to learn from other parents. And I think that's something special with your podcast too, is you're able to learn what other parents are doing, and it gives other parents resources, or not only that, but other perspectives, right? Because me and my wife, we've been kind of like no social media till X. We're thinking about like when she turns 12, we'll give her an iPhone or something that's from Gab, because we can keep better track of it and those kinds of things. But I think that's something beneficial that comes from this podcast, from this opportunity to be able to share parenting advice with others.
And it's all trial and error, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've just said all of these beautiful things about my kid. She could screw it all up tomorrow and,
100%.
be on her phone at midnight.
Yeah.
Well, then she's grounded.
Like when she starts to get into boys, like.
Not until she's 30, brother.
I'm the same way.
I'm telling you, man. I'll stand on that goddamn porch with a shotgun. I'm like, not today, big boy. But no, it's all trial and error. We have to place a lot of trust and faith in our kids.
Yeah.
We had a conversation with them. I'm like, this commodity that you now have was easy enough for you to get because you've been well behaved. It's just as easy, if not easier, to lose it when you misbehave.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay.
And you have those discussions regularly?
Yeah, the kids have misbehaved or they've done something, and it could be either of them. And it's a case of, okay, well, I'm not going to ground you because I still want you to have social time with your friends. That's important for you as a kid, but you've lost your phone for a week. And they're like, ugh. I'm like, uh-huh.
Yeah, it becomes a way to parent them.
It absolutely does. And they're like, oh, okay. And honestly, first couple of hours, it's like, but honestly, after a week, they're okay with it.
Yeah.
And I've actually noticed, like, when you give the phone back, it's not like, oh, thank God I've got it back. It's a case of, oh, yeah, cool, I got my phone back. And it kind of gets put to the side and it slowly regenerates back into their life again as they start to use it. You know what I mean? But they don't die after a week of no phone.
Yeah.
Also, top thing for parents as well, if you want another parenting advice, is if you, obviously we all have internet, set up multiple Wi-Fis within your home.
Okay.
So set one up for yourselves, adults. Okay, we'll call it adult for the case of the podcast. So set up a Wi-Fi account or a Wi-Fi network called Adult, which you and your wife will be on, phones, laptops, whatever. Set one up for the kids. So the kids' TVs, the kids' phones, the kids' tablets, whatever electronic devices they have.
That's smart.
Go onto that Wi-Fi. Set one up called appliances, because I don't know what the statistic is, but there's a high risk of
being hacked,
internet hacking through televisions, through Google Nests, printers, Google Hubs, Alexas, all that sort of stuff. So put that on a separate net, or your TVs and appliances on a separate network, and then have a separate network for guests. So about 4 or 5 networks keeps your home protected. The beautiful thing about having all your kids on one device, when it's bedtime, and then it goes off.
I love that.
Because you can actually set up in your internet or your modem or your router settings the time frame for the Wi-Fi. Continuous, or is it timed? So is it from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.? And if that's the window, hey, they're like, TikTok stopped working. Must be time for bed.
I love that. So you're putting in the right boundaries. You're not just relying upon your kids to make good choices. You're also putting in those boundaries to kind of like force making good decisions.
And if they get, as they get older,
that time will
you can extend the time frame of the internet.
100%.
And there might be a weekend where they're like, can we stay up late and watch a movie? Sure.
Yeah.
You just make that, it's all on your phone. It's all on an app. You just make a slight adjustment.
Yeah.
But honestly, like if parents are struggling with kids getting into that world of technology, set yourself up for success where you have control, complete control. Like, I don't want them on the internet after 8 p.m. How can I get past that without relying on them? Just turn the freaking internet off.
I love that.
Until 7 a.m. It's as simple.
That's
right?
so great.
And they're not watching shit and they're not on the phone because it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And you can also, get phones that don't have cell data.
Yeah. Cellular data.
They just have Wi-Fi data, Wi-Fi only. So that way they can't browse the internet after hours once it's all turned off. So there's plenty of things you can do.
Yeah.
But at some point you have to give them a little bit of trust.
Yeah, you do. You have to let them fail, right? You have to
100%.
enable them to fail. Something that we do with our children is at 7:30, all technology goes off. So that way they're able to wind down for a half hour to an hour before they go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
So we do that with our kids, and we have found that to be way successful because our kids were just turning into these monsters that, like, right when we shut off the TV and everything, and we're like, okay, time to go to bed. It's like pulling teeth to get teeth brush. It's pulling teeth to try to get them in the shower. It's pulling teeth to do anything. When we do that 7:30, we're like, hey, there's still plenty of time to go do stuff. And then what they want to do, they want to fight with dad. They want to wrestle with dad. They want to actually have interactions with me. And I love that aspect. That's one of the reasons why I want to stay fit, because I saw what my dad has always struggled with MS. from a very early age. He was diagnosed with Charcot-Marie tooth, where he had 14 surgeries on his feet before he was 18.
Wow.
So he's always not been able to like fight or wrestle, or I never had like a physical relationship with my dad other than getting my ass kicked.
You did,
I-
just not the kind you wanted.
Exactly.
Let's not gloss over your childhood.
But it made me tough.
Yeah,
I'm a hard ass.
It's like, hey,
Anyways.
Dad, and when I said I wanted a physical relationship, I meant like tickling and kind of play fighting, not beating me with a rubber rat.
Exactly. Please don't do that.
Other kids get told they get loved. I just get told I'm getting hit. Oh, shit.
Son of a bitch.
The fact, and I know we're making very lighthearted of this, and for folks listening, Jeremy and I have such a beautiful relationship. We can laugh about stuff like this. I'm not being crass.
100%.
I'm not being disrespectful, but a fucking rubber rat. Come on.
100%. And I've healed from it too. Like
No, I know.
I'm able to talk about it openly, and I've been open about this on Mark's podcast and Nick's podcast. Like like abuse is something that has happened in my past, but it doesn't form
define you.
who I am.
Yeah, it doesn't define you.
Yeah, it was just another hard shit thing that I had to go through growing up. And I think with kids, I think putting kids in difficult situations. So something that we do with our children, our rule in the house, they have to do something difficult every single year. So it doesn't matter what it is. If they want to do drama, if they want to do like competitive dance, if they want to do club soccer, whatever it may be, they have to commit to something for a year. And it's hard. Like right now, my daughter's doing competitive dance right now. There's a lot of body shaming. There's a lot of like drama with other girls talking about other girls.
Yeah.
And so I think that's good for kids to go through, because it goes through a crucible and you find out who you are by doing something difficult. And that's something like a premise that we've learned in WAT is put yourself in situations where you're outside of your comfort zone, because that's where growth happens.
100%. And I agree with you too. And I think, kids need to have the difficult conversations.
Yes.
They need to have, be kicked in the teeth every now and then.
Yeah.
But I think it's imperative as a parent that we're there to support that and explain, why did they get kicked in the teeth?
Mhm.
Why did this happen? How can we prevent it in the future? How can I support you to get past this? I think that's the most crucial thing is it's okay to let kids be uncomfortable and be in discomfort as long as we teach them and show them how to use it correctly. That when you're discomfort or you're uncomfortable, you don't just sit in it. You make a decision in it and move forward in it.
Yeah.
And use it to gain a lesson, or to get comfortable in being. We've done some really uncomfortable shit. We're not going to go on to it about here, but in We Are the They, we've done some stuff that's like, oh, that's really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And you get to learn to be comfortable in it really quickly. Now, would I want to go back and do those things for fun because I'm now comfortable in that situation? Not at all.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's very much a choice that we have to make, a mindset choice that we have to make of like, okay, this isn't going to get any easier for the period of time that it's happening. So I can either fight it or I can flow with it.
Mm-hmm.
And what am I going to do, right?
Yeah.
But with kids, sometimes you got to let them have a little bit of a fight.
Yeah.
Do
you guys role play with your kids? Like, do you like put yourself in situations like, what if someone comes to talk to you like this? Or what if you do this?
We don't. We don't, and we haven't. I think Andrew and I have a very open relationship with the kids where we talk, let me rephrase that. We never used to. There was a time back in the day, not that long ago actually, where we always have mealtime together. We always sit at the dining table together. We always have a meal as a family.
Yeah.
Once every now and then we may, have TV dinner on the couch watching a movie, but 9 times out of 10 it's at the dinner table.
Yeah.
For me growing up, dinner table was a place where children should be seen and not heard. Adults talk, kids don't. So growing up and going through life and then coming into marriage with kids at the dinner table, I would get annoyed if the kids would start talking. Andrew and I would be having a conversation. They want to chime in and chit chat. I'm like, no talking till you finished. And it was also a case of you finish your plate or you stay there till you finish your plate. It was my upbringing. I was projecting onto the kids.
Yeah.
I had a beautiful friend of mine, Tanya Mack, Robert Mack's wife, who taught me about how the dinner table should be a place where the family come together. You honestly look at it, you look at like the Italian families, the mob families, the dinner table is where that a bada bing, the bada boom, everything's going on, right?
Yeah.
The conversations are flowing, the deals are happening.
Yep.
It's the dining table is the centerpiece of a family, right?
Yeah.
It's the La Familia. I didn't have that at the time. I was stopping that.
Yeah.
Once I got past that and we kind of worked through that, dining table's our place now.
Yeah.
We can spend 5 minutes at the dining table eating. We can spend an hour and a half.
Yeah.
We laugh, we joke. The kids tell us about their day. Andrew tells about our day. The kids tell jokes. They, we mess around. We have fun at dinner.
Yeah.
And so having those conversations and having the kids hear Andrew and I's conversation, speaking to the girls in more of an adult tone versus a baby tone.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever had to have that conversation about, if anyone ever says to you, honey, this is what you need to respond. Our daughters have also gone through a lot in a 4-year period with issues that their biological father has and things that we've had to overcome. This little 13 and 11-year-old have seen things and done things that not many 13 and 11-year-olds have had to see and deal with.
Yeah.
A lot of very emotional things. They've lost a grandparent. They've lost, almost lost their father twice. So they've gone through a lot. So, you look at my kids and you're like, holy shit, you're only 13 and 11. You're really well put together.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also because they've had to really deal with some, life kicking them in the teeth at a very early age.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew and I have also been very cognizant that we're not going to sugarcoat this shit.
Yeah.
We could sugarcoat it and tell them that everything's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also going to be a time in life when they look back and be like, oh my God, that's what happened? And you told us everything was okay? Oh, we never wanted that.
Yeah.
So yes, we've had
We're
difficult.
kind of that same
Yeah,
approach.
we've had very difficult conversations with the kids, but they've handled it really well.
Mm-hmm.
There have been some times where the kids have had breakdowns and we've had to sit there and just let them cry and sob and have a complete meltdown.
Yeah.
And then build them back up again and let them talk about their feelings and share why they're feeling that. But it's healthy.
Yeah.
We've
always taken that approach too. Like we've always talked to our children as adults.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important to not like kid around. Like you really want to treat your kids as adults because it helps them relate and be able to communicate better. And they communicate extremely well with adults.
Yeah.
Because they're used to being talked to as adults.
Dude, my 13-year-old's knocking doors in our neighborhood selling her businesses.
That's awesome.
She's got 3 businesses.
Yeah.
She's got a bakery, she's got babysitting, and she's got dog walking. And she'll knock the door and she'll be like, hey, I'm Lily. I live down the street. My dad's doing an event and he's got some treats which I'm baking because I'm a baker. Here's my business. I also do babysitting. I also do dog walking. Blah, 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 blah. If you need me, text me. I'm like,
wheeling and dealing.
Oh shit. I'm like, you'll be buying me Jordans soon.
100%.
You know what I mean? But she can hang with an adult.
Yeah.
My eldest, Lily, texts Mark McCormick. They have conversations back and forth. Mark will literally text Lily, he's like, yo, Lily, what's going on? She's like, yo, Mark, how's that? And it's unreal.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? And she's 13. She can.
But that's healthy too. I feel like your kids, you have to treat your kids as adults.
100%.
And you have to be able to communicate with them in a way where you're not hiding things from them. We've always been very open about sex with our kids.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest things that we've always feared is that our kids being taken. And so we've always spoken about different scenarios and we'll role play with them about like, what if an adult comes to you at the park and say, hey, can you help me? Or, hey, your dad told me to pick you up because I'm your dad's friend or whatever it may be. Like we walk through tons of different scenarios. So that way, if they're ever presented with that scenario, they know exactly what they need to do.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I think that's a fantastic thing to have. I can't honestly recollect to the point that yes, we've had that conversation and this is the way it went. I know we have because I think every parent does, right?
For sure.
If mommy and daddy are picking you up from school and we're not there, you don't get anybody else's car unless it's grandpa. We've had those kind of conversations. I wouldn't say we regularly role play them.
Yeah.
But we've definitely had those conversations. But yeah, I agree with you. You got to talk to kids at a level that's slightly higher than where they're at.
100%.
Because if you speak to kids at the level of where they're at, they're not going to progress. You speak to them at a level a little higher than where they're at, they're going to meet that level. And when they get there, you move the barrier.
Yeah.
And you move the barrier. So now I'm talking to my 13-year-old as if she's 16.
I'm
talking to my 11-year-old as if she's 13, 14. And we just keep, notching it
And they
up.
mature, right? They mature by the way you're having the conversations.
Lily's way more mature than me. She'll come downstairs and she'll be like, hey, Dad, I just watched this amazing documentary on Egypt. Do you know? Blah, 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 blah. And obviously, I don't want to look like a schmuck. So I'm like, yeah, of course I know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, everybody knows that. And she's like, oh, okay, cool.
Oh.
And she leaves the room, and I'm literally like getting online, Googling that shit in case she asks me more questions. I'm like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
I'm like, babe, can you find the documentary on Netflix that Lily's watching? I need to watch it too. She's so freaking smart, dude. And she calls me out on my shit all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Her and I have this amazing saying. It actually came from my brother, Neil, back in the UK. And it's the most annoying saying ever, but now my daughter's picked it up, where she'll tell me something. She's like, oh, I did this at school today, and I did this, and blah, 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 blah.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, prove it. And she'll be like, what do you mean? I'm like, prove it. And she'll be like, no. I'm like, lies. She's like, no, Dad, I really did. I'm like, lies. And she's like, Dad, I really did. I said, listen, honey, even if you could prove it, I still wouldn't believe you. And she's like, oh, God. So, and it's just a joking thing, right?
100%.
And she says it to me now. I'll come in from work, we'll be at the dinner table. I'm like, oh, yeah, I had a great day today. I had 2 listings appointment, took 2 listings. She's like, lies. And I look at her, I'm like, you son of a bitch. I'm like, no, it's true. She's like, even if you proved it, I still wouldn't believe you.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just that beautiful thing now. It's just like me and my eldest, it's that thing, right? That's like, that's, you're my daughter when you come out with shit like that.
100%.
Right? And it's just beautiful.
I love, one of the greatest things is that we've created our own people.
Yeah.
We've created people that like our best friends for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the most amazing things about being a parent is that literally you've created lifetime friends and you want to treat them that way. Yeah. You don't want to you understand that their minds are still developing, that they still need to learn basic things, but you're helping them. And then you start to form those friendships. Me and my 11-year-old, or she's almost 11, we are so tight.
Yeah.
My 5-year-old, she's the sweetheart. She's just amazing. My son, he's now getting to the age to where he recognizes a lot of things, and he's just absolutely just loving it.
It's amazing. Yeah. And I love it. And as you're so right, I love it when kids pick up on your passions and dive into it. And I love diving into my kids' passions. Like my eldest Lily, she loves to draw, she loves to bake. Mm-hmm. Love that. My youngest Anna, she's an animal. Oh, she's like freaking Dr. Doolittle. She loves every animal under the planet. She'd rescue every one of them if she could. But she's very much into, makeup, beauty, animals, friends. So I love leaning into that with her.
Yeah.
And I love when they take interest in what we do.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Formula One fan.
Yeah.
Huge. I've been since I was a kid. I'll get up at 4 a.m. to watch Formula One on the other side of the world. Just me in the living room by myself, TV on low, watching Formula One, right?
Mm-hmm. And
I remember a couple of years ago, I was in the living room watching Formula One, and I can't remember which kid it was at the point, Lily or Anne, doesn't matter, but they came down and they're like, what are you watching? I'm like, well, this is Formula One. They're like, huh? What's that? I'm like, well, they're really fast race cars that look like rockets. They go around a track 200 miles an hour, and there's a little person sat inside there driving it. And they're like, huh. And she just kind of sat down next to me. She's just kind of staring at the TV watching it. She goes, so which car do we like? And I said, well, I like the silver car with the number 44 on. That's my guy. She's like,
Lewis Hamilton.
Lewis Hamilton, right? And she's like, well, who's the other guy? Who's the other guy? What team is that? What team is that? Now, dude, Formula One's on. She literally parks up the seat, sits next to me. She goes, how's Hamilton doing? I'm like, yeah, he's in 5th. And she's like, ugh. It's because it's my thing.
Yeah.
She just wants to be in on my thing.
Yeah.
She doesn't know shit about Formula One.
She takes interest in what you're doing.
Yeah. She doesn't care. She just wants to do what Dad's doing.
Yeah.
And I'm the same way with them.
Yep.
I know I laugh and I joke and I get annoyed about all the TikToks and the memes that they send me, but if that's the way they want me to connect with them, it's my duty to watch the damn 30-second video, be annoyed at it, but tell them I love it.
100%.
Right? Because that's how they want to connect with me.
Yeah.
I want them to connect with me on things that I do because that's what I did with my old man. And they want to connect with me watching, Friends or watching TikTok. Sure as shit, I'll do it. My daughters and I, this whole last 2 weeks while Andrew's been gone, every night after dinner, kids would go upstairs, get a shower. We'd all get into our bed and we watch Friends.
I love that.
Because my girls love Friends. So the three of us would just lay in bed watching Friends. And I'd be like, okay, it's time for bed, kids. And I'm like, get out of here.
Yeah.
But the 3 of us would just jam watching Friends. It's really important to lean into the things your kids love, but then also allow them the space to move into what you love too, right?
100%.
I think that's super important.
Yeah.
Well, dude, we're gonna have to wrap up because it's literally been an hour, which is amazing, and I still have a shit ton of questions for you. So there may have to be a part 2 to Jeremy Macy
for sure.
I actually asked this question on the last podcast and it came out of the blue and it was actually a really, really freaking good question. So I'm going to ask it to you.
Okay.
If your kids collectively could describe you in one word, what would it be?
Fun. Yeah, I'm the fun person. My wife is the disciplinarian. She's the one that like regulates.
Sorry, Jesse.
Exactly. Sorry, Jess. But
Jess, basically what I'm telling you, honey, is you're not fun. His words, not mine.
Like we had fall break this last week,
Yeah.
and I took him to the zoo. I took him to the aquarium. I let him have a sleepover. We ate pizza, like we were talking about, like survival mode.
Yeah.
I let them destroy our basement. Like there was just toys and cards and things everywhere. But I'm the fun one. I tickle them. I throw them around because I'm strong, and so that's been something that I've always wanted from my father. So I try to give what I wanted, and my kids absolutely love it.
I love that, dude.
Yeah.
Same way.
Yeah.
Same way. I beat the shit out of my kids. I really do. Like I tickle them till they pee.
Oh yeah. Same here.
I'm like, I'll tickle you till you pee. Like, no, you won't. I'm like,
oh yeah. They're like thrashing and going all over.
I'll throw them up over one shoulder, spin them around until they're sick, put them down, tickle them. Like in the summertime, I'll literally she'll be walking across the backyard and I'll just pick her up and throw her into the pool.
Yes.
And she's like unexpectedly, and they're like, oh my God, do it again. Get over here.
100%. I do tricep extensions with my little ones.
No, you don't. I've seen those triceps.
Whatever, dude.
So fun. No, I love that, dude.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, that's definitely what my kids would say.
I love that. And very well deserved.
Thank you.
Well deserved too. So to finally wrap up, last question, a minute or less, best piece of parenting advice.
Best parenting advice. Invest in your children. And what I mean by invest in your children, I mean exactly what we've just been talking about for the last half hour to an hour is care about their activities, care about what's going on in their life, care about what they want to do, empower your children, invest in your children, do everything in your power to try to just pour into them because it'll come back. Mm-hmm. Like they have shown up to me in some of my darkest times and have just loved me. And that's one of the most beautiful things is that because I've poured so much into them, they're able to pour into others. Yeah. And that's what I want. I want my kids to be a light to other children, to other kids. And so my focus is always to invest and empower them.
I love that, dude.
So
I love that. Amen. Jay, I freaking love you. I really do. You're one of these cool guys, right? You know, you and I have such a great relationship where we laugh, we joke, we give each other shit.
Yeah.
You know, you and I know right from the very get-go, day one, if we're not giving each other shit, it's because we don't like each other. Like
100%.
Us loving each other is giving each other shit.
100%.
I love who you are as a human. I love that you are so open about your struggles. You've learned from them, you've progressed from them, you've created a beautiful life because of them.
Yeah.
And I'm just very honored to have you as a friend, and I'm very honored and grateful that you came on today and shared.
Thank you so much, Matt. And ditto, like everything, like I just love and appreciate you, Matt, for so many different reasons. Not only have we had hard conversations, but we've been able to give each other shit. We've been able to have so much fun together. Yeah. And I just look up to you in so many different ways. And when I found out that you're only like a few years older than me because you look old as shit, I was actually like,
you asshole. It's true.
I was actually like really impressed by everything that you have done. So
how old is it that you thought it was a couple of weeks ago? You asked me how old I was, and I told you.
Yeah, you're 39, right?
I'm 39. How old did you say?
I was floored. I was like, holy shit,
how
you're
old
30.
How old did you think I was?
Dude, I thought you were like 45, 46, because you're gray as fuck and you've got wrinkles and stuff.
Whoa, that's a scar from a rugby match. Actually, it wasn't. That's a scar from a bar fight. I got glassed in the face.
Oh, shit.
Yes. So, yeah, wrinkles my ass. That's a badass scar, bro. And, yeah, the beard, I got no excuse.
No, I'm just giving you shit. You don't have wrinkles, man. But, dude, I love you. And it's awesome that we're only like, what, 3 years difference.
Yeah,
So
3 years difference, dude.
love you, dude.
Look how cool you could be when you hit 39.
I know. I freaking look awesome.
All right, man. I appreciate it, bro. Thanks, pal.
Love you, man.
Thank you for listening to the Bear Den podcast. Please click subscribe and get the updates for our new episodes. And if you feel the need to reach out, you can reach me on Instagram @TheBritBear.